So much to get to here to try to make sense of it all. It is the Sixers Talk podcast brought to you by Wilmington University. WilmU Works, Danny Pommells, along with the multi-talented producer, co-host extraordinaire, Ben Berry. Another Ben Simmons is back at practice, bro. He's running with the second team. He's on the court. Second practice here as we come to you on a Monday afternoon after Ben Simmons, a widely circulated photo of him looking disgruntled as the team, comes in for a huddle at the end of the practice. He doesn't join them. It's a lot to read into that. People are taking all of the liberties that they can at the moment. How are you feeling about Ben returning, Ben Berry?
I'm indifferent. I'm not going to get too high on it. I'm not going to get too low on it.
Okay.
He doesn't
play in the middle of the road.
He doesn't want to be here. Fans don't want him here. Doc Rivers only wants him here because it gives him a better chance, better opportunity to succeed in his position. Daryl Morey isn't trading him until he can get the value he wants back. I'm indifferent. And him coming back at this point a week ago doesn't do anything for his trade value. I didn't think a move was going to happen until, December 15th at the earliest. I was thinking around trade deadline is when something would actually happen.
Well, the funny thing is that we got to get to this opener first. And will he even play with this team is the real question, because I mentioned he's running with the second team. It just looks like, something is going to happen, but no one knows what it is exactly. And Doc Rivers has alluded to the fact he's not sure, what Ben Simmons, if he'll be on the court in New Orleans when they take on the Pelicans. The Sixers are also banged up in some other areas. We'll get to that as well. But, trying to sort out this Ben Simmons thing, Doc Rivers said he's in shape. Doesn't look like he's in game shape. So that's something we kind of would have expected. But they're taking their time with them, as they should. I think the thing for me, though, is, him being disgruntled, the team, meaning the organization, might not want him here. But everything we're hearing from the players, specifically Tyrese Maxey, with a really interesting quote, because as we saw in the summer, we saw him and Tyrese playing pickup basketball together. He was on one of those highlight tapes that, Simmons put out there with Swish Cultures. But Maxey's saying, Ben was my friend before I even played for the Sixers. So, friendships are bigger than basketball. So, regardless of how we may feel or how, the organization may feel, it's up to the guys that are on the court who are playing with Ben and in that locker room with them to determine, how this all will go over. So are you buying or selling the idea that the team themselves might be able to play with him on the court until some of this kind of, comes to a head naturally?
I think they'll be able to play with him. We've all, whether it's you and me and our current roles or previous roles, or for the listeners out there, we've all had to work with someone we do not like or care about and want to communicate as little as possible with. And I know someone's going to get in the comments, look, they're paid millions of dollars. And, regardless, no matter what you do for a living, you're going to work with someone you don't care to be around. I will take it at face value. They're happy he's here. There's no Adam Will still in there. I haven't heard it from the team's best player yet. But moving forward, I think everyone's goal is the same, is to win and get a championship, to earn a championship. I'm sure that's Ben Simmons' goal, whether it's here or somewhere else. He wants to be traded. I think he's learned that he has to go along to get his way, because sitting at home isn't going to be it. And I don't think he's built to go straight Jimmy Butler and do everything. If he was, I think he would have done that so far in one of the practices. So I think he'll go along and just keep his head down, try to stay out of trouble. But I think he'll play in that first game, even though Doc Rivers says he's in shape, but not basketball shape, and get him up to speed with some of the changes, because I think just getting it out the way now for any on-court just miscommunications, letting them play through in New Orleans, and just try to have things as normal as possible before they play in front of the home crowd.
Yeah, man, that home crowd is going to be something to see Friday against the uh, Brooklyn Nets. I was watching New Jersey Nets, but the Brooklyn Nets Friday, because we're sure there will be some boos. I definitely want to get to a couple things you said, but for a fact, bro, if Simmons comes out and shows some of those skills that they teased us about over the off season, and he comes out and balls out, uh, things will be quickly forgotten. There will be some boos and jeers and whatnot, but if he comes out and balls out and starts showing off a mid-range jumper or being aggressive to the basket or what have you, some of the things the team has needed him to do over the years, he definitely could make everyone forget about all this offseason drama, because everyone wants to win. So I think that's just clear and present, and I don't think it really can be debated. Interested to hear how you feel. We do need to tell everyone is that Ben Simmons will speak tomorrow, Tuesday, probably before noon. We'll carry on NBC Sports Philadelphia as well as NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com. And make sure you tune in because he'll speak, and this is what we've been waiting for, to hear from him directly. The body language is one thing, but what comes out of his mouth will be something different. I'll be interested to see if he can kind of empathize or sympathize with the people on the other side of this, or if he's still going to be as staunch and rigid as what the reports have made it seem like he is regarding the situation. I'm sure the questions will be hot and heavy, so make sure you check us out for that. What are your expectations, though, if he comes and plays well? Don't you think that everyone will kind of eventually go along with it and cheer him and be on board with the team's success?
I think you talk about the fans or the rest of the team?
The team. See, I think we addressed the team. I think the team is just ready to play basketball. So I think the team themselves, okay, individually, maybe there might be a guy or two who, feels some type of way, but I think there will be a unifying sense to it if, they're going out to play basketball, like us against them. Like, it's not going to be us against ourselves. So I feel like the team is kind of taken care of, but the fans and the public perception.
The team is doing what they need to do to be professional. That's what they're doing. I expect players to be more honest once the whole trade is resolved eventually down the road, or if he's moved. That's what, or after some of these guys are done playing. I expect to hear some honest takes on that. The fans, if he come out playing well, yeah, maybe eventually they'll start cheering or supporting Ben Simmons, but I don't think it'll be like permanent or a true turnaround until the playoffs or big games. He can come out and drop 50 against the Pelicans, and it doesn't matter if he doesn't do it in April and May.
Well,
and
he won't even be here
deep in the postseason.
I think, but if he goes out and drops 50, you think people just going to start still keep booing him? Like, I think if he goes out and drops 50, like, there will be plenty of big games in between now and the trade deadline that he can show, what he's capable of or how far he's come.
Yes. What's closest to fans' memory is him not wanting to be here. All the miscellaneous reports over the last 2 months, whether he feels like he didn't get time to grow, whether
right. But once he gets on the court and starts playing, there could be a giant heel turn here.
No, people don't forget that. Fans don't forget that.
Once he starts playing, and if he's showing some of the stuff that they've asked him to do,
it'll take maybe some people might cheer on Friday night. There'll still be a lot of.
I'm not talking about Friday. Eventually, I'm saying if he balls out, if he comes and plays, if he's showing some of the characteristics that they want,
it will take a while. It's not that narrative won't change until it's the playoffs. If he averaged 35 for the season, but came out and put up some duds in the playoffs again, the narrative doesn't change.
But what I'm saying is, if he's getting traded at the trade deadline, like you're talking like May, April, like he won't even make it that far. I'm saying if he comes out in these first 3 months of the season,
at the deadline, though, and even if he gets traded at the deadline, that doesn't make everything forgiven.
Yeah, I think that, you saying like, I'm not saying forgiven, but you say if he averaged 35 a game, like you putting some superlatives on there that sound real sexy. Like I don't think like if he comes out and is playing like an MVP, like people aren't going to just still keep booing him because he didn't shoot in Game 7 against the Hawks. Like, you're going to be a prisoner of the moment at that. If he's doing things that you haven't seen, like, it'll be captivating.
Oh, great. He developed his offensive game. We're optimistic now. It doesn't thoroughly don't believe that the narrative will change until it's games that matter. It'll be a feel-good story.
It's a long way to get to the postseason. It's difficult to put the whole year into a microcosm of one moment where all these moments lead up to that. So it's like you can't just say, "Oh, let's wait till we get to the playoffs," when there's so many steps to get to the playoffs. But I feel you on the narrative overall. But I feel like if he's doing some of that stuff you mentioned, that's going to put everybody on notice. But overall, you want to hear what he has to say about this whole situation. I haven't heard him be anything but generally closed off, like generally guarded, generally, on the defensive when it comes to press conferences. He's just not really giving you a whole lot. Sometimes, like in the Brooklyn series when he had that falling out with the fans and then, came back and kind of got everybody on his side because of how he played in the Brooklyn series and talked about how, him saying, people who aren't going to cheer should just shut up or what have you. Like, coming back from that, I feel like there's a way for him to show and demonstrate that he's a part of what this is right now. And I'm curious to see what lane he takes. Like, do you feel like he'll just be the regular closed off Ben Simmons, not really giving you much tomorrow when he speaks?
Yeah, I think he'll be the same guy he was last year than the year before. Why change? Why be more open? That just is going to lead to more scrutiny, more criticism. I don't think he's going to go up there and turn into Joel Embiid or LeBron James and media availability and just say everything or some in-depth answers. I think he's still going to be Ben Simmons, short answers.
We will carry it
to the point.
We will carry it for sure. However, it comes out tomorrow afternoon on NBC Sports Philadelphia and NBCSportsPhiladelphia.com. Either way, whatever happens with Ben Simmons, the Sixers are in a bit of they have a bit of a problem when it comes to the backcourt entering this game against the Pelicans. We'll get into that after we take this quick timeout. Ready to make a move? A Wilmington University education can take you where you want to go. WilmU works online or in person. Learn more at wilmu.edu. So we're hoping to hear what Ben Simmons has to say. Either way, they have some issues, the Sixers do, in the backcourt, because we're waiting to hear how Doc Rivers is going to, on the team in general, is going to handle Simmons playing on Wednesday. We mentioned he's been running with the second unit. Maybe he comes in with that second unit and doesn't start the basketball game, as it's been mostly Tyrese Maxey getting the reps there. But Doc Rivers saying that the Sixers will have a committee approach when it comes to bringing the basketball up, because Shake Milton is completely out for this game. He has a right ankle sprain. He was seen doing some work on a side court after practice on Monday, but he will not play against the Pelicans. They will also be the Pelicans that is missing Zion Williamson, so they're dealing with some issues of their own. Either way, absence begets opportunity, because while there will be a committee approach to bringing the ball up, I'm sure Doc Rivers will be happy if one of his players really sees the opportunity that is here. We talked about Maxey running with the first team. Isaiah Joe has an incredible preseason. I could see him being a guy who could step up and fill some of the void if Simmons doesn't play. Milton, we definitely know, will be out. How are you feeling about this rotation and what the Sixers might do when it comes to, the backcourt and filling the void that, Milton definitely will have for the team, and maybe, Simmons not being there either? Would you play Ben on Wednesday?
I would definitely play on Wednesday. I think that's their best option, whether there was all these injuries or not. But since there's this laundry list of injuries, you have to play Ben. It's too much to put on the other guys. As you just listed it all, named them all. That's the guys who are available or young, all on top of being young and inexperienced. And it's just throwing them to the wolves when you still with everything that happened, I don't care. You still have Ben Simmons, who's physically able to play. And if you want teams to see, is Ben, as he worked on improving his game, to see if he's worth that trade value that Daryl Morey in the front office thinks, you put him out there. I would not put that on all these young guys' plates. I think it's unfair.
Yeah, and you would hate to have all of the turmoil and the upheaval that you dealt with and the distraction that this Simmons situation is, and then go out and lose in that game because, maybe you didn't have been out there, or maybe the team wasn't as, cohesive as you would want. Like I mentioned, the Pelicans are missing a few guys, or missing Zion Williamson, but they have a few guys on their roster that are great wing players like Brandon Ingram and Josh Hart, that could cause the Sixers some problems. I mean, they're deep. They got Trey Murphy, a 6'8", wing player as well. A few other guys that are slipping my mind right now. They also have bodies to throw at Joel Embiid with Jonas Valanciunas, who knows Joel well. They got Hernan Gomez, as well as the kid Jackson Hayes as well, who can jump out of the gym. So they got at least that many fouls to throw at Joel and bodies, should he start cooking. So it won't be easy, going down to New Orleans, even if they don't have Zion. Worth mentioning injuries. I didn't clarify Tobias Harris, who had missed some time because he banged knees in practice, should be good for the opener. And Matisse Thybulle was back practicing after his shoulder was giving him some trouble. So they also on track for the opener. So opportunity, man. Furkan Korkmaz, Isaiah Joe, two guys who are coming off playing, a great preseason, have opportunities here to really make some of those dividends come through. It'll be interesting to see how Doc, integrates all those guys in this opener, considering, you hope Ben is coming in and playing on the court. He's, not holding back or not being his full self, which would take away from the game of the other players. So you're hoping that he's bringing that and not holding grudges that way or trying to disrupt the team that way. But I think people will read a lot into what he says when he speaks on Tuesday. You're hoping he's being mature about it, but I think the Sixers have enough to get over the hump in this Pelicans game. What they have against the Nets will be a different story, but you got to start off on a high note with this first game. They got a rookie head coach through the Pelicans and Willie Green. Like, this is an opportunity to go handle business and come back home and be in front of the home fans where you've had so much success.
I agree. That's why I would play Ben Simmons. Without him, your only true point guard on the team is Tyrese Maxey. Then you have a bunch of combo guards, and we've seen in the past, I know they're not Shake Milton, but you've seen with Shake Milton, it was just too much on his plate, and that's why I thought it was fair. He has more experience than those guys would have now just to put all that on their plate. But you definitely want to get that win out of the way, start off on the right foot after all the turmoil this offseason. And I just feel like Ben's going to get booed either way Friday against the Nets. But if you get him out there for the first game, and if he plays well, maybe that helps cool things off going forward. But it's not going to make the fans forget. So definitely want to get that one.
Allen Iverson had a message for Ben Simmons on social media. Did you see it?
I did not see it.
Okay. It was short.
Had a busy weekend.
It was short. So I know you were painting your house. It looks like you had a good time. And it's nothing like the meal after doing the housework. So I'm glad you highlighted, that as well. So did the painting all work out for you?
I got some videos to send you, man. It was, for the listeners out there, by no means am I rich. I'm not making that Danny Pommells money. But your boy dropped $2,000 on things this weekend on the do-it-yourself projects, fixing up the house and more paint. Your boy is tired too.
The DIY projects are sometimes it's great to have people helping you. I'm not a super DIY guy, but sometimes they can be hit or miss type projects. Because sometimes you're trying to save money where you just need to spend the money and get it done right instead of you trying to instead of you trying to makeshift it. But Hey man, you live and you learn, and those things build character and give you a perspective that you can share as a wiser homeowner, type of person. But I got off topic because the Iverson stuff. I was just curious. It was a short and sweet message, but Iverson took the time out to tell Ben to follow God's plan and to execute. So to me, that's really just, trying to encourage him to block out the distractions and focus on the task at hand, which is like for Ben getting out of Philly. And the only way you're going to do that is to go on the court and play basketball. And in essence, that is what we all enjoy. That is the commonality between everyone here on the podcast, everyone that we watch on the court, is we all love basketball. Like you listen to this podcast because you enjoy the Sixers, you enjoy basketball. We watch because we know those players feel the same way or have a level of commitment and competitiveness to be great. So I think, to me, it was a very, OG type move for Iverson to do that and just make it public, because maybe he can't get to Ben. Like, it seems like a lot of people can't, get to Ben. Like, he rebuffed the guys coming out to visit him. So I don't know. I mean, do you feel like any of that even affects Ben when it comes to this whole process? Do you feel like he's listening to like outside voices, or everything's just insular?
I would lean towards everything being insolent and not listening to outside voices, just because of his decisions not to listen to outside voices in the past, whether in that opportunity down and just many other things, but players on his team trying to get him to shoot more, things like that. So I don't think that Ben Simmons is going to take too much from what Allen Iverson said. However, Allen Iverson's advice was to focus on God's plan and execute. And Danny took the positive role on this, the positive route. And this is why the listeners think I'm some angry curmudgeon or something like that. What does that even mean? Follow God's plan and execute.
Maybe it's referring to another conversation they had before, or to me, at face value, it's not hard to read.
You're a father. Go tell that to your son and see what happens. Like, that plan, follow God's plan and execute. That's no real advice. You're not helping anybody up.
Well, Ben said that he loved the Sixers because of Allen Iverson. Like, he holds Allen Iverson in high regard. He was the one that wanted the black Iverson jerseys that they used to wear and wondered why they didn't wear those from the finals season. So, sometimes people speak and you listen. You know what I mean? People who you care about. I see you got that smug look in your face.
I mean, I'm just not buying. Maybe you do. No, maybe I'm too harsh on them, and I need to be more optimistic. But no, I'm not buying.
Ben might not listen to any of that. He
might
might be completely.
I'm not buying Ben listening to the advice. I'm not buying the advice. I'm just not buying any of it.
He said, "I'm not even buying the advice. You can keep that advice."
Yeah,
that was lame advice. All right, let's take a timeout, man, and then we'll get back to another topic of just what the expectations are for the Sixers team, man, because we got to put a number on it and an idea of what to expect. In the past, we've placed bets on such things, but let's just talk about it and see where things go. We'll be right back. Ready to make a move? A Wilmington University education can take you where you want to go. WilmU works online or in person. Learn more at wilmu.edu. Ben, are you good at taking advice? Are you a good advice giver? Like, where do you fall in the spectrum there?
No, I think I'm decent at taking advice. I think it all depends on who it's coming from. I have the ability to give good advice. I usually give bad advice because I do the career days. I do the career days because, a lot of kids, they want to get into sports broadcasting. For a lot of my friends, sports teacher, I'm the only person they know in the field. So I show up, the kids ask for advice. I give them bad advice because I'm looking at them as my competition one day. I don't want to lose a job to some kid named Timmy in 10th grade in the future. People are like, oh man, you gave me this advice when I was in 10th grade, and now I took your job. No,
Oh, wow.
when it comes to receiving advice, like what Allen Iverson said, like, all right, it's advice. I don't know what it means or what Ben's going to do with that. I remember playing football at Norristown area high school, and I got an interception, and whole left side of the field, all the players were, except one player on the right side of the field I did not see. I got tackled and knocked the wind out of me because I did not see him. I got back to the sideline, and the coach told me to be an athlete, to stay on my feet. I don't know what type of advice that was, but that was the Allen Iverson advice. Be an athlete, stay on your feet. I was getting tackled. What do you mean?
Wow.
So that just popped into my head as we were talking about Allen Iverson's advice.
Yeah, coaches are bad sometimes, man. Instead of celebrating you and getting the pick, he told you be an athlete, stay on your feet. Great.
Be an athlete, stay on your feet.
How can the Sixers stay on their feet this season? Do you see them doing well when it comes to the Eastern Conference standings? Where do you see them falling?
I see them, as things stand right now, and I know this for anybody. The wild card is Ben Simmons.
Right.
Does he get traded? If he gets traded, when does he get traded? What does the Sixers get back? So if he's on the team all season, I think the Sixers can be a 3 or 4 seed in the East. If he's on the team all season and fully participating, no suspensions or anything like that. If he's traded and the Sixers don't get anything back, or he decides to take his ball and go home and he's going back to holding out, which
or maybe they get a bunch of draft picks and not like a
bunch of draft picks
and
no star, just a bunch of young pieces. I see the Sixers falling down to like a 6 seed on the outskirts or within range of being in the play-in tournament moving forward. I think Joel Embiid is good enough to keep them from reaching that depth or that low in the rankings, in the seeding. But the Ben Simmons trade fiasco saga is the real wild card. So I see the Sixers being a 3 or 4 seed if he's there all season, or they trade him for a player of similar caliber. If they trade him for a bunch of picks, or Ben decides he's going to get suspended or sit home, I see them falling down to like a 6 seed.
Milwaukee, obviously the best team in the conference, right? Like, they've had the least amount of issues in the offseason. They've got their core still with them. I could see Milwaukee being the number 1 seed and then them going to the Eastern Conference Finals again to face, maybe the Sixers, maybe another team. But I got Milwaukee as the best team, right? The second best team, I wanted to be the Nets because I see KD as like one of those unstoppable forces. Miami has made a lot of upgrades. And I know that when you come to the Heat, there is a certain culture that you have to be in lockstep with. So that kind of elevates and upgrades everyone. They've overcome slow starts and, the pandemic. They get into the bubble and they make a great run. So that's a team I don't underestimate. I like the Knicks as well. Another team I feel like can learn from, a year of experience and being, in that driver's seat, so to speak, and then kind of improving on that. I do think the Sixers can be in that conversation for that 4-5 type of, lane. Like they could be the 4th or 5th best team, but there's a small margin of difference between 4th, 5th, or 6th. So I'm going to say flat out, they will not be in the play-in game. They will not be, playing at 7, 8, 9, nonsense. But I could see them being at most a 3 and then at least a 6. So falling somewhere in that range. So I would comfortably say that they'll be a 5 seed this year, regardless of how anything plays out. Now, if you want to factor in the Simmons stuff and when he gets moved and whatnot, I really can't quantify that. I have no idea, what will happen with that, what kind of Ben Simmons will get, obviously that all will start with him speaking on Tuesday. We've seen him looking lackluster in practice, but how that translates to what he does in the court, I am not sure. And what he says, I think, holds a lot of weight, But I could see them being anywhere from a 3 to a 6, regardless of how the Simmons stuff plays out. I think Joel Embiid is the second best player, maybe third best player in the Eastern Conference behind Giannis and KD. But I think that the Sixers will surprise some people. I believe that Daryl Morey will figure this out. And it will work out in the long run. I don't know if it'll pay dividends this year, but that's how I see it. I could see, things playing out differently, but as of right now, that's how I see it.
Yeah, I think we're in the similar lock and step.
We are.
With
Yeah,
the Sixers.
definitely. How you feel about Chicago, though? Is that a team you feel like can put it together? They're like the Vogue team.
They're going to make the playoffs. I don't know how good they are. I know their announcers, every announcer loves Caruso. I've seen his highlights all over social media the past week or so. I think they'll be fun. I think they definitely should make the playoffs this year. As high as a 4 or 5 seed for the Bulls, but
so you think they'll be right in the mix with the Sixers then?
Yeah, I think the Sixers, the Heat, and Bulls should all be in that 4 or 5 seed area.
Yeah, Indiana is a team that's always kind of like been right there, so I can see them making a little bit of a push. But it all starts here in a couple days. The Sixers are on the court in New Orleans. It'll be interesting to see how they deal with all of this. We'll be there with you every step of the way. You had one more thing.
Here's a question. Here's a question for you. I asked you. You don't know this last week before y'all recorded. But fans, when you hear this, comment on social media, tweet Danny or myself, comment under YouTube. Will Ben Simmons make more shots outside of the paint or play more games for the Sixers this season?
Well, you thinking like the let's say he gets traded at trade deadline. That's a little bit past the halfway point. So let's say he plays 50 games. So will he shoot 50 jump shots outside the paint? No way.
Will he make? Did I say shoot or make?
Shoot or make? I mean make. I would say definitely not.
All right, let's go shoot more shots outside the paint.
Yeah. Or will he shoot outside of the paint? 50 outside of the paint, I just don't see it happening. I got to take the state of Missouri attitude on this. You got to show me. I'm gonna show me state on this one. Yeah.
Oh, I'm going the same way. I'm going the same way. I think he'll play more games for the Sixers than shots outside the paint. I'm intrigued to know what our listeners think on this one.
Right. I feel like, bro, if you feel like the walls are closing in on you, if you feel like you're in a situation you don't want to be in, you're uncomfortable, you're just going to go with all the little things that you're used to doing, you know what I'm saying, and stick with that. Like, why start venturing outside of your comfort zone to open up yourself for more criticism, you know what I'm saying? And I see him playing that role, but it'd be interesting to see what he has to say. We will rejoin you guys on Thursday after the Sixers play opener, before they play against the Nets. Noah Levick will join us as well. Ben, we appreciate you for your expertise. As always, producer, co-host, ready to do it all. Mr. Wonderful, I'm Danny Pommells. We're brought to you by Wilmington University. This has been Sixers Talk. We'll see you next time.